Sorry, I'm not sorry. We all said that before, especially if we were cheated on, lied to, disrespected, or simply in our feelings. Well, let me speak for myself. I know I said that before. I remember when I was cheated on after years of being married, I was so angry, hurt, brokenhearted. I was despondent. I was scared and afraid. I had so many mixed emotions, and trust me, I expressed all of them. It was no secret. I wanted a divorce. I put him out. I allowed him to come back for the sake of the children. At least that's what I wanted to believe. I ended up separating from him, and that separation was still in the same home, up under the same roof, just living in different rooms. Eventually, I wanted to do counseling because it takes two, right? In a relationship, it takes two to tango. So surely I needed to know my part in this conundrum. So we proceeded to the counseling. That didn't go as expected. I wanted to do the work. He, like most men, I would say, and I don't want to sound stereotypical, but he did not continue to do his work. He wanted the marriage, but did not want to continue with the counseling. So I made a choice to move to sunny Arizona. Sorry, I ain't sorry. I know that you can relate to being all over the place with your own emotions and feelings, and having to make some difficult choices was probably not what you expected. And like I said, you had probably those moments too of saying, sorry, I ain't sorry, because life happens. And when life happens, we tend to get in our emotions and feelings, and we say things that maybe we will regret later on and maybe not, but we don't have an apology for it. Maybe you were angry and you shut down, or you decided to continue in a relationship, but you was vengeful or vindictive. Or maybe your words became your weapon of destruction and you became bitter and angry. I know I'm not alone because we all have this roller coaster ride of our emotions. And typically, those emotions will get the best of us. Now, I've worked with many over the years who struggle with losing a loved one, or their own confidence, knowing their own self worth, and even how to honor their feelings and emotions when they face some traumatic event in their life. I've helped many in discovering their purpose, embracing their emotions, and healing from within, simply by encouraging them to honor what they were feeling, and I'm choosing to embrace that feeling, or at times letting go that particular feeling. It's never easy to change, right? And do something different, but I would like to share with you the three steps of kicking A's of emotions and feelings. I never thought that I would be the one sharing or even naming and claiming my emotions and feelings when I was all over the place with mine. Like, really, I was on an emotional roller coaster. I feel blessed to share with you steps that have helped me and others in honoring their emotions and feelings and bringing healthy balance to their life. So, what will you walk away with today? You will recognize the triggers of your emotions and feelings. You will understand what emotions and feelings are and the importance of ownership. And you will also have a call to action to nurture or heal your emotions and feelings. So let's get started with kicking A's of your emotions and feelings. So, what would be the first thing that we need to do? Our emotions and feelings. Awareness. Yes, that big A word, awareness. We are funny creatures. And I have to say myself, I am very observant. I think I've been that way all my life. But it was interesting because I saw other people's stuff very clearly, even their behaviors. But for some reason, I was not aware of my own. Isn't that typical? That we are not often aware of our own stuff. So, what exactly does that mean? What do awareness even mean to us? Why do we need to be aware of our emotions and feelings? Ability to look at yourself and understand the whys to what drives your emotions and feelings. That is key to really understand the whys. So if you are trying to practice this awareness thing, it's really understanding the why or the whys of what drives or what triggers your emotions and feelings. So, what would be the key to awareness or self awareness? Is really mindfulness. We heard mindfulness probably interchange with meditation, and some people may say or think it's prayer. But what mindfulness is the key to self awareness. John Kabat-Zinn defines mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. Let me say that one more time. Jean Kabat-Zinn, he defines mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment, non judgmentally. So, through mindful practice, you will be more present with yourself so that you can really be there to observe what's going on inside and around you. So, again, that self awareness is really about what is going on inside of you. What is driving your emotions and feelings? What are your triggers? So, mindfulness, it means that you are being present in that very moment, not 2 days later, not a week later, but you're being present in that very moment, paying attention on purpose to what is happening within you. It is not about sitting cross legged or suppressing your thoughts. It is about paying attention to your inner state as they arise. You can practice mindfulness at any time you want through eating or mindful listening or even walking. I don't know if you ever took the time out to really walk yourself through what you do while you're eating. Like, I'm about to pick up this fork, I'm grabbing this noodle, I'm putting it in my mouth, and I am chewing. That is mindfulness. You are being present in that very moment and intentionally paying attention to what is going on with you through all of the actions, and you also get to experience those things. If the food is good and tasteful, or how big or small that noodle is. When you're mindful, you are aware of everything that is happening in that present moment in time. So, mindfulness is the key to self awareness, and awareness is the first step to really kicking A's on your emotions and feelings. The awareness of your own emotions and feelings allows you to choose your action plan. So that is very important as we will see what does that look like moving forward when we get to that third step of kicking A's on our emotions and feelings. So what is an emotion? What is a feeling? We often hear, oh, women, you are so emotional. Get out of your feelings. So what are emotions? Emotions, an intense feeling that is directed at someone or something. An intense feeling that is directed at someone or something. So we can relate to intensity when it comes to those emotions, right? Because we can get very intense with them. So, do we often know or do we often put a name? Or what we say, is it really the right emotion that we are experiencing in that moment in time? So, let's look at some types of or basic ways that we can really express ourselves through our emotions. Happiness, we know what that feels like. When we are experiencing that emotion of happiness, the feeling that may trigger or come behind that is us being happy. Sadness is another emotion. Fear, disgust, anger, surprise. Those are some expressions of emotions. Simple enough? Not really. I know that as I begin to read about emotions and feelings, and as I've done some of my own research, it's still questions about emotions and feelings. Are they the same? Are they used interchangeably? Is the difference between the two? Well, some have studied, researchers have shown that maybe there is a limited numbers of emotions. Some have limited to six, as we can see through very well. They have six basic emotions here. Others may have listed eight basic emotions. So it may vary, but emotions are limited, and feelings could be many, many feelings. You can experience a lot of feelings. That can be thousands. Wow, that's a lot, right? So, again, an emotion is an intense feeling that is directed at someone or something. So, if this is our type of basic emotions, then what are feelings? Feelings is a mental reaction to an emotional, physical connection. Feelings is a mental reaction to an emotional, physical connection. What the heck does that mean? Well, our feelings is connected to an emotion. So many researchers again have stated and looked at an emotion being more of something that we experience in our body, and a feeling is more of something of the mind. So emotions versus feeling. Let's look at a few. Emotions are physical states that arise as a response to external stimuli. And feelings are mental associations and reactions to emotions. So, if I was in a particular place at a particular time, that may trigger a certain emotion. And I may have a feeling that may arise from that particular emotion. So it's a mental association that I have had from an external stimuli or an external connection. Emotions arouse before feelings, and feelings are caused by emotions. Emotions is the physical state, as I said earlier, and mental associations and reactions are related to feelings. Emotions can be observed through the physical reaction, and feelings can be hidden. So now, if what I said earlier is true, as far as emotions, we may experience limited emotions, meaning it's not a plethora of our emotions. We don't have a lot, it's limited to maybe 6 to 8. However, feelings, there may be plenty, thousands of feelings that trigger us. So we have that fear as an emotion, and the feelings that may trigger that particular emotion, fear, is worry, panic, or suspicion. So if you look at that list, you can see that you have that one emotion, and this is just a few of the feelings that that one emotion may trigger. So what do you want to do with this? Pay attention to your triggers. Pay attention to the emotions and feelings, because that's real, the feelings, because the feelings is what you're going to experience because the emotion was already triggered. So, emotions and feelings. As you see from this example, feelings serve the mind and emotions cater to the body. So, what do we want to do with all of this? Paying attention to your triggers are key. And that again is taking us to that place of really being aware, being mindful of where do we go when we are triggered. Watch this clip, and I want you to pay attention to the triggers, to the lack of self awareness, to them probably not even been mindful in the very moment in time, and what happens when we do not pay attention to the triggers.
How's the record company going, Pete?
What? Not great. I'm still waiting for numbers to come in.
What have you heard?
A couple numbers have trickled in. It's lower than we expected.
Then why are you giving Larry money?
What?
I know everything. I talked to the accountant.
All right, you know what? I don't want to get into some nasty fight. So can we please talk to each other the way the therapist told us to talk to each other?
Fine. Fine. It makes me feel sad when you are dishonest.
I understand it makes you feel bad when I am dishonest with you. It hurts my feelings when you treat me with contempt and corner me and try and trick me into lying.
Okay. It makes me sad when it's so easy to trick you into lying because you're such a lying bag.
That's not, you can't do that. You can't do that. The therapist said you're not allowed to judge me.
That's not a judgment. That's just a fact.
Fair enough. Sometimes I withhold truth. That is true. But it's only because I'm scared to death of your crazy, illogical overreactions.
Well, It hurts me inside and triggers me when you're such a dishonest that you're lending your father money without telling me while your record company's going bankrupt and we're on the verge of losing our house.
Now, as we saw that video clip, they surely were not paying attention to their triggers. They just automatically went and they went there. They tried. When you do A, I feel B, and then they tried the C part. They really tried to use some tools. But again, remember that self awareness is something that allows you to look within yourself. And the very first step in kicking A's to your emotions and feelings is being aware of what is going on within you, right? They did not do that so well. And then that mindfulness is being present in that very moment and finding out or sitting with what is happening within your body, your emotions, and your feelings. If they would have been mindful, they probably would have had a different conversation because it wouldn't have turned into pointing and blaming. So that leads us to the second step of kicking A's of our emotions and feelings is acknowledgement. That is very important that we understand that not only do we want to be aware and mindful of what's going on, what our triggers are, but we also want to acknowledge. We want to be able to sit with our stuff, acknowledge what it is, and really be able to move forward with what is happening within us. So experts say that denying bad feelings intensifies them. Acknowledging bad feelings allows good feelings to return. It's almost like you have to clean out your house, right? You don't want to continue to store and to suppress those feelings and just tuck them deeper and deeper inside because when you don't acknowledge them, you're not allowing yourself to heal. You're not allowing yourself to get better. And what's not acknowledged is going to eventually surface again. So experts say that denying the bad feelings only intensifies them, and acknowledging the bad feelings allows the good feelings to return. So, this is not about us ignoring our emotions and feelings. It's not even about us disregarding those bad feelings because all our feelings still needs to be acknowledged. We need to be aware of what's happening within us, and we need to be able to acknowledge those particular feelings and emotions if we're going to grow. So it's three things in acknowledging our feelings and emotions. We want to be able to name and claim our emotions and feelings. We want to be able to look from within ourselves. There's no blaming the other. And we want to be accountable and own our feelings and emotions. So, naming it is claiming it. Acknowledging your internal struggle is a way of really facing your stuff, the good and the bad emotions, and giving yourself permission to heal from those emotions that you have suppressed or those emotions that you have repressed. So, acknowledging is really naming that you are angry, saying it, giving yourself permission to feel that anger, to be present with that anger, to acknowledge that that is a struggle internally within yourself That's really a way that you can give room for that emotion to arise, for you to acknowledge it, for you to be with it, and to allow yourself to express it and to allow yourself to heal from it. I know when I was going through my divorce, I purposely surrounded myself around some good people that was comfortable enough with their or in tune with their emotions and feelings. They were able to give me permission to express my anger. I didn't have to repress it. I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to act like I was altogether lovely because I wasn't. So I was able to say that I was angry, to embrace that anger, to be able to express myself in my anger, and today, I do not have any feelings of bitterness inside of me. Me and my ex are pretty good friends, and we have a good relationship today. So, naming it and claiming it is a good way of you acknowledging your feelings and emotions, because even the bad ones, or the ones that we say are bad, it still matters. And you are still experiencing that emotion and feeling in that moment. So, in acknowledging it, you want to name and claim it. No blaming of the other. As we seen from watching that video, they would get nowhere because it was the pointing of the finger. It wasn't what was happening with them. They didn't pay attention to any of that. It was about what the other was doing or have done. Usually, when we don't acknowledge our feelings and emotions, we find ourselves really pointing the finger at the other as if what we feel will disappear and go away. So we think that by us pointing the finger at someone else, that we don't have to experience or feel our own inadequacies, our own fears, our own disappointments, whatever it is that may trigger that particular emotion. It is easy to blame the other instead of us sitting with our own emotion and feeling. Acknowledge your feelings takes the blame off the other, and it is not about the other person. It is really about what is going on within you. So, not only do you want to name that or claim that particular emotion and feeling, you want to also be able to only keep it within yourself without blaming the other. Now, don't get me wrong. They may have a lot to do with that feeling. It may be things from the past that you have gathered and collected and repressed and suppressed and tucked in so neatly and pretty and nice that you don't even recognize that this is not really about the other. It's about you, and it's about other relationships. And so therefore that stuff comes out on someone else. Or maybe that is the person that really caused you to bury some of those emotions and feelings. But really, acknowledgement has to do with not blaming the other, but owning it, which is the next step of accountability and ownership. Growth begins when we begin to accept our own weakness. Beautiful things can happen when we begin to acknowledge our fears and face them. And that's a quote by Jean Venner. Growth begins when we begin to accept our own weakness. Beautiful things can happen when we begin to acknowledge our fears and face them. Very important is really when we can acknowledge our own weakness. And our emotions and feelings have a way of making us feel that weakness, making us feel shameful, making us feel guilty, making us feel sad, depressed, inadequate. So we have to be able and be willing to be vulnerable and to grow with that particular emotion and feeling. by really accepting our own weaknesses, taking accountability of it, and ownership of that. When we own the pain, the distresses, the discomforts, the hurt, the depression, the joy, the happiness, the tears, the love, we become like a magnet that only attracts what we ourselves have owned, embraced, and healed from. I truly believe that in the law of attraction, what you have chosen to embrace and fill yourself up with is the very thing that you're going to attract back to you. So when you can own even those emotions and feelings that you feel as the weak part of you, you will be able to grow, and that growth is beginning to accept that beautiful side of you. Beautiful things can happen when we begin to acknowledge our fears and face them. So face, name it, don't blame the other, and be accountable and own even those emotions and feelings that you may feel may be your weakness. It's very important that you are able to own it. So, if I'm going to kick the A's of my emotions and feelings, I know I have to be aware. And I also need to be able to acknowledge that I'm naming it, that I'm claiming it, I'm not blaming the other, and that I am being accountable and owning those emotions and feelings. And lastly, which I think is very key to how we begin to really be in a better place of regulating our emotions and feelings. And that last A is action. How are we going to choose to act in the moment that we feel and that we are triggered? What do we do? Where do we go? As we seen that video clip, the woman, the wife, she had some triggers. She tried, but she was triggered every time, and she just continued to get more intense with her feelings and her emotions. And as the man who we know doesn't get emotional, he was also trying to control his emotions and feelings, but he also reacted in a way that was very intense, right? So, step of kicking A's on your emotions is being able to act. All feelings and emotions, as we already know, they're not bad. So we can choose to nurture the healthy feelings and emotions, or we can choose to heal from the ones that are unhealthy. So if we're going to nurture the good emotions and feelings, some things that you can do is really by surrounding yourself with people or things who trigger the good emotions in you. Surrounding yourself with things or people who trigger the good emotion in you. That is key. I know for me, I can just talk to my grandbabies in the morning and I am ready to go. And if I don't talk or see them throughout the day, I feel that within my body. So my grandbabies, my kids, when I can talk to them, when they're in a good place, because sometimes I have to say, I don't want the negative energy. Positive vibes, positive vibes. But when I talk to my babies, my grandbabies, or I'm able to see them because they're still little ones, so they make me happy. And I definitely want to continue to surround myself with them, and even friends and family that I know that keeps me going and encourages and give those good feelings and emotions that are positive. Those are the ones that I want to surround myself with. Exercising. Exercising, if you do some study on exercising, it releases a chemical in our brain that really makes us feel elated, excited, and happy. So it's endorphins that is released as we exercise. So if you want to continue to nurture those healthy feelings and emotions, do the things that's going to really cultivate and trigger those good feelings and emotions. Spending time, as I stated, with family and friends, doing that self care. Those are key things that you can do to continue to nurture those healthy feelings and emotions and to heal from the ones that are unhealthy, to heal the toxic and those harmful emotions and feelings. You can do some things to really move in that direction of healing. And you can make sure that you continue to acknowledge and express your emotions and feelings. Don't tuck them in. Don't suppress them. Don't hide them in this cute place and then eventually it's going to come up in this ugliest way. You don't want that to happen. So make sure that you are continuing to acknowledge, to really be aware of those feelings and emotions, and to express, not repress those emotions and feelings, those toxic and harmful emotions and feelings. Set boundaries with those who trigger the bad emotions. If it causes more harm to be in the relationship with them, set the boundaries. Why cause yourself to be in an unhealthy place when you don't have to? See, emotions and feelings, again, we get to choose and control how we really want to act out with our emotions and feelings. So for me, I know that I was triggered by a particular person that I had a relationship with, and they will always send me to this place of my blood pressure going up, and I would end up reacting in a way that was not so healthy. My body would tense up. I would feel so many bad things within my body. And I finally got to the place to say, Jackie, you don't do this. You don't do this. Set those boundaries, put them in place, and continue to do your self care and take care of those emotions and feelings. So at times, you're going to have to set some boundaries with those who you feel that trigger those bad emotions in you if it causes you to be toxic within yourself and to be toxic in your relationships. Forgive yourself and others and continue to do your work of healing. That is key. Forgiving yourself. We have heard over and over again that, when we refuse to forgive and we let that unforgiveness set within us, we do not harm or hurt the other person. We are hurting ourselves. And forgiveness has a way of really setting up that bitterness and anger and being resentful, and all of those things causes unhealthy sickness and diseases in our body that we don't need. So we need to let go. We need to forgive, and we need to continue to do our work of healing. These are some, this is a, these are some other things that you can try when getting through those emotions and feelings. But before you try these things, to really healing from our emotions and feelings. It says self control is strength, calmness is mastery. You have to get to a point where your mood doesn't shift based on the insignificant actions of someone else. Don't allow others to control the direction of your life, and don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. EI, emotional intelligence, is key. That quote was by Morgan Freeman. So sit with that, because self control is strength. And really If we're going to kick the A's of our emotions and feelings, we have to be aware. We have to be mindful in our awareness. We have to be able to acknowledge what's happening from within us, no blaming of the other, really being able to hold yourself accountable and own it. And you also want to be able to act in a way that will continue to heal those good, to nurture those good emotions and feelings, and act in a way that will allow you to heal from the unhealthy emotions and feelings that you experience. Lastly, you can try this also. I recently just did a 30-day emotion filling challenge using the Kicking A's method. I discovered so many great things. This is not a one-time challenge. This is a lifelong progress, or something that I will continue to do. Being able to be aware, being able to acknowledge, and being able to act. Practice mindfulness, reflection, prayer, meditation with the focus on your body and mind responses. Try inviting others to hold you accountable. Try being intentional in building healthy relationships. And really, if you feel that this is more difficult than what I am saying, sometimes you probably just need to seek professional help. If you need to do deeper work, that's okay. Give yourself permission to do the work. And then also utilize a coach to encourage, motivate, and inspire you to really live that healthy life, that balanced life with your emotions and feelings. Living whole is my goal. How about you? Take the moment in time to continue to kick A's on your emotions and feelings. Take care of yourself and continue to do your work. And I guarantee you will be in a better place when you begin to kick A's on those emotions and feelings. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope you found some key elements in here that can help you continue to move forward and keep emotional balance in your life. Bye, and thank you for your time.